You are looking at the most secure building on Earth, and most of it you will never see. The Pentagon has 17.5 miles of hidden corridors, 5 floors above ground, and 2 below. This is what it takes to house 23,000 people under one single roof. September 11, 1941. That is the day ground broke in Arlington, Virginia. Not a decade later, not after years of planning. 11 months, start to finish. Here's the crazy part. The project started before architects finalized the full design. They built as they drew, a $83 million gamble in wartime America. The original site was Arlington Farm, 600 acres of federal land, cleared almost overnight. 5 sides, because the original plot had 5 angles. The shape was locked in before the location changed, but President Roosevelt demanded a different site. The angles stayed anyway. Now you are looking at the most recognized building on Earth. From the air, instantly identifiable. Let's talk about what actually went into the ground. The soil at Arlington was soft, unstable in ways that would destroy a lesser foundation. Engineers drove 41,492 concrete piles deep into the clay, each one between 20 and 40 feet long. That is not one section of foundation. That is the entire perimeter and everything inside it. The concrete alone, 435,000 cubic yards. Enough to build a modern city block 3 times over. They mixed it on site. 2 concrete mixing plants running non-stop. Day shifts, night shifts, it didn't matter. At peak construction, 15,000 workers were on site simultaneously. 15,000 people. Building one structure. The workforce ran 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, every single week for 16 months straight. And here's what nobody saw coming. They ran out of steel. World War II was consuming metal faster than mills could produce it. The solution? Reinforced concrete everywhere. Structural ramps instead of elevators. Wider corridors to move people faster without machinery. The building would be nearly self-sufficient. That decision was made out of necessity, not vision. Watch how the 5 rings take shape. The Pentagon is not one building. It is 5 nested rings. A, B, C, D, and E, each a complete corridor loop. Ring E is the outermost, the face the world sees. Ring A is the innermost, the quiet core. Between each ring, a 30-foot open court, light and air, channeled down between walls. The rings are connected by 10-spoke corridors, radiating outward like wheel spokes, cutting through every ring. 17.5 miles of corridors, that is the measured total. Walking from any point to any other, 7 minutes. In a building that houses the entire U.S. military leadership, 7 minutes, corner to corner. The basement levels, that is where it gets classified. 2 floors beneath ground level run continuously under the building. Mechanical systems, communications infrastructure, secured spaces. The exact layout has never been fully published. What is confirmed? Tunnels connecting to external buildings nearby. One tunnel connects directly to the Navy Annex. Another runs toward the Washington Metro system. During the Cold War, the sub-basement was expanded, hardened against blast, electromagnetic pulse, communications failure. The Pentagon was designed to keep functioning after a nuclear event, not just survive. Function. Notice how the logistics of 23,000 people work. 6 zip codes inside the building, its own fire station, its own police force, a shopping mall of service businesses inside the E-ring, bank, post office, barbershop, pharmacy. In 1943, when the building opened, it had its own bus terminal. Buses ran from Washington, D.C., directly into the structure. The dining facilities could seat 2,000 at once. They ran 5 separate cafeterias. Simultaneously, the heating plant burned 230,000 gallons of oil per year, enough for an entire small town, just for this one building. Here is something the original planners never intended. The Pentagon was meant to be temporary. Post-war, the military would shrink, the building converted to archives. It never happened. The Cold War began before the ink was dry on peace treaties. By 1947, the building was already overcrowded. 2 years after completion, already at 130% capacity, expansion was impossible outward. The design had left no room, so they went down, deeper into the basement levels, and they went inward, filling the open center court. The center courtyard is 5 acres of open ground. Right in the middle, a hot dog stand for years. Soviet intelligence identified it on satellite imagery. They assumed it was a command bunker entrance. It was a snack bar called Ground Zero, a Cold War joke built in 1958. But here's the crazy part. The actual tunnel network is far more extensive than the courtyard hides. A full communication center was built below the building in 1954, hardened, redundant, classified, still operational today. A second expansion came in 1963. The ramps, concrete vehicle ramps dug beneath the river entrance. They allowed armored vehicles to drive directly beneath the building. That infrastructure still exists and has never been declassified fully. Let's get to September 11th, 2001. At 9:37 a.m., American Airlines Flight 77 hit the western facade. The impact zone, the E-ring, D-ring, C-ring, collapsed. 184 people killed. The building suffered massive structural failure in the impact corridor. And then something remarkable was revealed. The reinforced concrete, the same wartime substitute for steel, held. Floors above the impact zone stayed standing for 30 minutes, long enough for evacuation, long enough for hundreds to get out. The blast-resistant windows, installed in a 1990s renovation, stayed intact, windows designed for bomb threats, now holding against a jet impact. The renovation had been ongoing in that exact section for months, lower occupancy than usual. Because of construction, every awful coincidence turned into something that saved lives. Reconstruction began within days. By September 12th, crews were working inside the smoke. The Pentagon was partially reopened in 1 year. Exactly 1 year after the attack, September 11th, 2002, you are looking at a building rebuilt while remaining occupied. The undamaged sections never fully closed. The rebuilding added more hardened systems, more redundancy in the underground corridor network. The sub-basement communications upgrades following 9/11s are classified. What is public? The building now has backup power for every critical system. Total Pentagon campus area, 583 acres. The building footprint alone, 29 acres. Each side of the Pentagon, 921 feet long. Each outer wall, 921 feet long, 5 stories tall. The roof covers 3.7 million square feet of space. More square footage than the Empire State Building. More parking spots than most airports, 16,250 spaces. They ring the building in massive lots, visible from orbit. Here's what is still not fully understood. Publicly, the tunnel network that was expanded during the Cold War remains active. Some sections are acknowledged. Most are not mapped publicly. The exact depth of the lowest classified level, unknown. Emergency hardened facilities underneath the main basement. Confirmed, not detailed. In 2019, a $4.7 billion renovation program was authorized. Ongoing sections rotating through reconstruction decade by decade. The building is always being rebuilt somewhere inside itself, like a ship repaired while sailing. Right there. That is the strange genius of the Pentagon. It was built impossibly fast in a national emergency. It was built with wartime substitutes, and the substitutes were better. It was meant to be temporary and became permanent. It was designed for 40,000 workers and now holds 23,000 efficiently. It was built in 16 months and has been continuously rebuilt for 83 years. The 17.5 miles of corridors were designed for a different war. They kept functioning through every war that followed, through Cold War escalation, through a direct attack, through the longest military campaigns in American history. The building underneath kept running. Below everything anyone could see. There are levels below the levels on the official plans, corridors beneath the corridors on the published maps. That is what 83 years of continuous classified construction produces. A building that is never finished. A building that is always becoming more of what it needs to be. The next impossible build is already starting. Subscribe to Built Impossible.